He once picked up John F. Kennedy for $125. Years later, he became Spock. But the price of that fame nearly destroyed him. Leonard Simon Nimoy was born March 26, 1931, in Boston's cramped West End. His parents, Max and Dora, had survived escape from Islav, Ukraine. At home, the family spoke Yiddish and kept kosher. Money was tight. Leonard polished shoes, sold papers, ran vending machines, and ushered in theaters. Anything to help. The theater hooked him early. While his brother Melvin chased science, Leonard lived in the Playhouse, mimicking radio voices and performing in community shows. His bar mitzvah voice drew attention. His grandfather quietly encouraged him while his parents urged practicality. At 17, he found himself in a role, Awake and Sing, that felt like home and didn't let go. He left Boston with $600, studied briefly at the Pasadena Playhouse, then walked out when he felt ready. He hustled in Los Angeles, small film parts, Yiddish theater, and relentless side jobs, cab driver, usher, vending mechanic, even managing an apartment building for free rent. In 1954, he enlisted in the Army Reserve to support his young family, writing and performing in shows for the troops and sharpening an ability to read and command a room. In August 1956, a 24-year-old Nimoy picked up Mr. Kennedy at the Bear Hotel, a small moment that stuck with him. The following years were brutal. Low-budget sci-fi and suffocating rubber suits, a lead in Kid Monk Baron that flopped, constant typecasting as crooks and thugs, and nights selling Electrolux door-to-door to keep the lights on. He learned to survive on grit and improvisation. Everything changed in 1966 when he was cast as Spock, a role that made him famous and wealthy, but also consumed him. The character became inseparable from the man. Marriage frayed. His son fell silent for years. His drinking worsened. Then Nimoy made a choice that surprised Hollywood. This is a story of how a tenement kid turned relentless hustle into an icon, and how that very success demanded a cost he never expected. He returned to night taxi driving, earning $40 a shift and about $8,000 a year, barely above poverty, until 1964, when Gene Roddenberry cast him in a new sci-fi pilot, Star Trek. Nimoy auditioned for Spock, a half-human, half-Vulcan. Early makeup tests were a disaster. Papier-mâché and latex made his ears look like a rabbit's. He threatened to quit until makeup artist John Chambers sculpted the pointed ears that stuck. They were glued on and dissolved after use. Nimoy hated them but stayed on after Roddenberry promised they could be removed by episode 13 if he still objected. On set in September 1967, during the filming of Amok Time, Nimoy improvised a Vulcan salute, fingers parted in the middle, drawing on a childhood memory of the Jewish priestly blessing. It became an icon seen around the world. With fame came pressure. At the show's peak, he received some 2,700 letters a week, 70% from women, and Spock mania erupted. He was mobbed in public. At one parade, the stage buckled under crowd. At another event, he escaped via a fire truck ladder. The character began to bleed into his life. Long days in makeup and on camera led him to drink wine, then beer, then whiskey. He spent weekdays as the unemotional Spock and found he couldn't switch off on weekends. By season 2, tensions rose. Nimoy battled Roddenberry over royalties and pay. He earned $1,150 an episode, while Shatner made $5,000. When his agent pushed for $9,000, Roddenberry threatened to replace him. NBC refused, knowing Spock was invaluable. Nimoy's pay later rose to $2,500 per episode plus expenses and script input, but the strain remained. Fans treated him as if he were truly Vulcan. Some became hostile. At a 1977 convention, he confessed on stage, "I am here because my heart is broken." In 1975, he published I Am Not Spock to explain the distinction between actor and role. Fans misread it as rejection, and headlines exploded. He continued working, voicing Spock in the 1973 to 74 animated series, which won an Emmy, returning for films and fighting for credit for the original cast. His 1979 negotiations with Paramount were rocky. Legal battles and a mocking ad nearly kept him away from Star Trek, the motion picture. Yet he returned with script approval and stayed involved, rewriting scenes on the fly. Nimoy moved behind the camera, too. In 1984, he directed a Star Trek film on a tight $16 million budget. It opened June 1st and proved a box office triumph, ultimately earning tens of millions and proving he could lead a production. He surprised critics again by directing and producing successes outside sci-fi, earning respect as a warm, skilled filmmaker. Leonard Nimoy's life was never a straight line. It was a constellation of daring experiments, missteps, private reckonings, and triumphs that added up to something larger than a single role. His career contained surprising detours, misjudged pop culture gambits like the 1967 novelty single The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, which he later admitted was a jokey misstep, sat beside bolder artistic statements. Years later, he produced a full-body project, a 2007 photo series featuring plus-size women that provoked controversy and conversation. He defended it as an effort to broaden ideas of beauty and to insist that dignity belongs to bodies of every shape. Nimoy's public life often intersected messily with his private one. He married Sandra Zober in 1954. Together they raised Julie and Adam. The marriage dissolved in 1987 after an affair and long estrangement, leaving family wounds that would not close quickly. Adam's distance, years of missed birthdays, graduations, and recitals, hardened into a 5-year silence that both father and son felt like an absence of air. Nimoy began therapy in 1985, a painstaking, honest return to himself that gradually rebuilt trust and taught him how to show up differently. Reconciliation arrived slowly and incompletely at first, but arrived. Those small, awkward meetings and difficult conversations became part of a later life defined as much by repairs by fame. He found love again in steadiness. He married actress Susan Bay on January 1st, 1988, a fresh chapter that promised companionship and new memories. Yet even happiness came with complications. Paparazzi shadowed their 1989 honeymoon in Paris, dredging old anxieties into public view and reminding him that celebrity often extract intimacy as a cost. Still, the partnership endured, quiet and protective, offering a witness for the final years of his life. There were other struggles he fought and then talked through. A lifelong smoker from age 13, at his worst, as many as 3 packs a day, he eventually developed chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and, after his 2014 diagnosis, quit immediately. In those final months, he used his platform not to romanticize regret, but to warn others. His last public message was as spare and honest as any of his performances. On February 23, 2015, he tweeted, "Don't smoke. I did. Wish I never had." 4 days later, he died at home on February 27, 2015, at 83. Susan at his side. The admonition was as simple and fierce as a plea from someone who had learned the hard way. Nimoy's influence stretches well beyond Spock's eyebrow and signature calm. He earned 3 Emmy nominations and accumulated honors that read like constellations, an asteroid bearing his name, a theater tribute at the Griffith Observatory, symbolic anchors that acknowledge cultural gravity but never fully measure it. More enduring are the ideas he helped popularize. Curiosity about the cosmos, an insistence on empathy for difference, and a belief that imagination and science can walk hand in hand. He inspired generations of scientists, writers, actors, and fans who saw in Star Trek's hopeful future a map for their own aspirations. His life was not tidy. Public feuds and family scars left complicated afterimages. Yet he also left art and advocacy, poetry and photographs, and a public example of someone willing to apologize, to seek help, and to change course. He proved that a career can contain failures and still be meaningful, that reinvention is a form of courage, and that the smallest acts, therapy, a heartfelt apology, a public warning to younger fans, can matter as much as awards. Every time the hand split salute is raised, it still translates, in another language, the wish he made famous. Live long and prosper. In remembering Nimoy, we are invited to carry forward the complicated gift he gave us. Permission to be imperfect, to reinvent, and to stand for ideas larger than oneself. His life teaches that courage is often quiet. Attending therapy, apologizing, choosing art over easy applause, and that hope remains an act.